So let me ask you, as a writer, anyone who wants to be a writer, anyone who becomes a professional writer, there's one place where they started, one first attempt when they're just like a little punk kid, didn't know what the
Right.
hell they were doing, just to get the idea. I'm gonna write a movie. I like to know what's your first attempt, very first attempt at writing a movie idea at all was when you're super young, and I'll give you my story. Like not even doesn't even have to be a
Yeah.
complete screenplay. Your very first like
I mean,
attempt. Like
it must have been in high school. Yeah, before even USC, because yeah, in high school I started being interested in films, just watching a lot of films and slowly becoming a film geek. And so I would just write. And there was the first one where I had a group of friends in high school that we just thought, let's just go make a feature film. So I wrote a script called 120. It was actually with another friend of mine, Josh, who was also a a a film geek. And so me and Josh were working on this project where it was gonna all take place in 120 minutes. It was like a live,
oh,
uh,
you
real
you're
time.
trying to
Yeah,
time code.
yeah. And it was like a kidnapping in Orange County. I think that was the idea. I don't even remember the details, but it was like there was like a kidnapping. A girl gets kidnapped, and a group of guys have to like friends of hers have to find out what happened to her in 120 minutes.
What was this? Was
That-
this
that-
was this before or after the show 24?
It's got to have been after 24 was. I think we probably ripped off 24 at the time. Like we're like, hey, it's gonna be like 24. I would cringe if I read it now. These days, it's like, oh my gosh, it's the type of stuff going through your head when you're 16 and 17 in high school.
All right, here's my story. So I was like 13, 14. This is my story of how Joel Schumacher's Batman Forever changed my life.
Uh,
The shitty Joel Schumacher Batman film. I was like 13 or 14.
right.
My sister had just rented Batman Forever from the video store. I haven't seen the movie yet, and I had the place to myself. I was like, all right, let's finally see Batman Forever. I started watching it, and about half an hour through, I'm like, this isn't very good. This this is a bad movie. And it was like the first time as a kid I realized that a big mainstream, like, blockbuster Hollywood movie could suck. Because before then, when you're young, every movie you see, you think is awesome. You think every movie
Right.
is great. It's like this was my eye-opening awakening moment that Hollywood could make crap. It was like and I was so
Right.
pissed off at how bad Batman Forever was that I had to write my own version. I attempted to write my own version of Batman Forever, and of course, it didn't get
That's
very
great.
far.
That's great.
It was only like less than a dozen scenes. And I had no idea what a script was supposed to look like. So
Hmm.
it was just I actually so it's more like storyboards where I actually drew pictures like it was a comic book of the frames and
Oh
kind of like
God.
and scribble
Yeah,
in the corner
that's
all the
great.
directions down there in the dialogue.
That's so funny.
First one I finally finished. I was 19, just when I moved to LA. It
Right.
was 180 pages of mostly dialogue and no plot. It was basically
Oh my
it was
gosh.
just some awful Clerks ripoff, which wasn't
Right.
funny and wasn't interesting. Your first script will be terrible, okay?
It's gonna
Don't
suck.
It's
Yes.
gonna suck. It's regardless, okay? You're
Yep.
just trying to figure out what the hell you're doing here, and it's gonna be a
Yep.
mess, and you're gonna be you try hard as you can, try to do the best job you can, but no, it's like, this is just practice. Don't think you're going to
Yep.
sell it to Hollywood. Don't think it's going to become rich and famous. This is
Yep.
your very first step to learning just what the heck you're trying to do. And you're going to
Yep.
once you're in script 5 or 6, you're going to look back on the first script, you're going to be embarrassed by it. You're embarrassed by,
Yeah.
that you thought, this is going to make you rich and famous.
Early on, I think it's about holding on to your voice, or the thing that's gonna
Finding your
make you
voice.
special. Yeah,
First of
finding
all,
your
finding your
voice
voice.
or cultivating it, right?
Don't just
Um,
rip. You start just trying to rip off other stuff, and then you
yep.
have to actually find your specific voice. What makes you creatively unique. I started off trying to
Yeah.
rip off Clerks. You started off trying to rip off 24.
Yep. Yep. And it's through that process that other people find their voice different ways. Different artists, maybe you don't. There's some people, they don't even pick up screenwriting until they're in their 50s or 60s, but they've cultivated their voice either through being a novelist or being a musician or something else, right? And once you do that, and if you can combine that with really strong craft, the craft I feel like can be taught. The craft can be learned. Once you start doing that, then you really are kicking on both cylinders. But a lot of people, they put the craft first, or they don't really have a voice that's unique, or that is has anything to say, or that is pushing any boundaries, or is inventive in any way. And it's just like, yeah, anyone can just write the next, action movie, right? It's like, just here, plot point one, plot point two, escalation, escalation. But it's like your unique take or your unique voice is what's going to make you stand out. Because I think craft is something that a lot of people already can do really well and are already executing really well. So you're never going to win just having like solid, oh, like I love this movie because the three act structure was so good. No, it's going to be like, wow, this person, they have the three act structure, you need it, but they have a way to tell the story that's new and different, or a viewpoint into this. Either it's a genre or a character that is really unique and speaks to audiences at that moment.
I think one way to go from imitating, which is where most people start out, to actually innovating, come with their own creative stuff, is say you have you have these group of movies, this genre of movies, this type of movies you really like, and you've been trying to imitate. Well, interrogate what exactly about those movies speaks to you.
Yeah.
What
Why do you
exactly
like them?
about you like them
Hmm.
so much? Think about what can you do with it. Explore that concept. What can you do differently? Explore. Bring some of yourself into it. Some of your own interests and your own creativity.
A lot of it is about themes or characters or motifs in these genres that speak to people. And then, yeah, I think that's great what you just said. Like, you need to interrogate and reflect. You need to spend some time alone and reflect on what is it that you loved about that movie. Like, why do these movies keep showing up in your best of year lists or whatever. And then once you, if you can have some clarity on that, okay, I really love that, let's say I like the mystery genre, like, and so it's like, oh, people can say, okay, I love the mystery genre because I love the way that gives you an opportunity to explore the darker parts of human nature, right? So what is the dark thing about human nature that you have access to that no one else does? Or what in your life can you make specific or unique or interesting that you have not seen in that genre, right? I honestly wish that that was something that people would focus on first, because I think that a lot of times people get it wrong. They do it in the opposite order. They read the stuff about three act structure and like story, beat sheeting and then outlining, and then so they're just like, they're putting the craft and the work of writing the script first, but they actually haven't done a lot of internal self reflective work to be an artist or to have a voice.
Ask yourself, okay, what exactly about this premise appeals to me? Why do I
Yep.
want to make this story? What exactly? What is the exact same thing about this idea that
Yep.
touches me, makes me want to make it? Because usually
Yep.
it's something you don't really think about. It's something that's more of on an
Yep.
emotional, kind of psychological level, maybe cultural level. Like because we
Yeah.
just when it comes
Sometimes
to
you don't even know it. You
because we
can't.
just
Sometimes you don't even know.
we just
Yeah.
respond to things mostly and don't tend to think about it. If you actually think about, okay, what about this particular idea that appeals to me? That's the root. You need to explore
Yep.
that, and from that, where you actually a story, a personal story, an original story that's
Yep.
yourself that expresses your voice will come from that.